victim, everyone's a victim. Doesn't matter if you're black or white, it hates you all.
Thank you. We'll move to item 4 is administration question and answer period. Councilors, any discussion for the administration? Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. President. Let's see, I think that Ethan Watson is Darcy. There he is. I'm going to go ahead and ask him a few questions. I know he's on dad duty tonight, so we're going to get him home. This is pertaining to Ipra requests and so forth. I know we're going to be talking about a report that is out, and I know that I'm always concerned when I see large sums paid out for a settlement amount for requests. So I did a little bit of asking around this week, and I understand that we're doing better, and I'd like to know if you would, Mr. Watson, could you tell us what your backlog plan is for this to get back?
Absolutely.
This is the Ipra guy.
And anything we're accommodating special season have a ground. So I'd like to have a little bit of context first, which is that the city last year received over 12,000 public records requests. That's double basically 5 years ago, and it may be over 100% from a decade ago. The further back you go, every year gets more challenging, but it is a significant increase. And I will say that we're also not unique. Most entities in New Mexico are experiencing more and more requests each year, and more litigation each year. Every member, so at a practical level, we get around currently 1,100 to 1,200 requests a month. Most of them are to the Albuquerque Police Department. Around 50% of those relate to traffic accidents, sort of non-factually about public records requests. And so not only are we getting more requests, but we're also getting more requests where there are more records responsive to any requests. And the records are generally requiring more and more redaction. The legislature has provided us with additional tools to protect people's privacy. These are important. For example, in the last session, the legislature provided additional tools for us to protect certain victims of crime. We now have grounds to protect the movie statewide, which is important, but it does take time to go through videos and identify that. So we do have a backlog of requests. There's a lot of reasons for this. Our plan at present really revolves around 5 different approaches. And I think all of them are important. No one is really going to address the issue, but we are working on basically 5 things at once. The first is digitization. The city still has a large number of paper records. Last year, we digitized over 1 million records, including in the last 2 years, all of the city's HR files. But on a day-to-day basis, we're still working with a ton of paper records. And so the more of those we can make digital, I think the better off long-term that we do, because it'll expedite our response time. We are also trying to make them where we can available online. So for example, we worked with the fire marshal's office to make a certain inspection report that was very popular. We made it so basically anyone can research it just from the city website. So digitization. Another key component of our backlog plan is large requester outreach. So there are a small number of requesters who account for a huge portion of our requests. We have basically a group of around 40 requesters who submit over 100 requests a year. Some submit as many as 500 requests a year. And we've been working with them basically to streamline what they ask for, and potentially in some cases reduce what they are asking for. It's been very successful. So we have Bernal with Law. Culbert is one of our largest requesters, largely related to traffic accidents. And we met with their firm, and in most cases now they are focusing their requests on only seeking the lapel of the first officer on scene, rather than requesting all the lapel of every officer who is on scene. And this is just a significant reduction in the volume of the requests, and that will, over time, expedite our response. The third component of our backlog reduction plan is staffing. We have requested and received significant funding for additional people. And so in the last budget, in the 23-24 budget cycle, the council granted us funding for 8 additional temporary staff. And then the mid-year cleanup, the council administration gave us additional funding for around another 10 people to carry us through almost the end of next fiscal year. We have filled the 8 positions from this fiscal year, and we are on track to fill the additional 10 probably by the end of next month. We're conducting interviews weekly to fill these. But staffing, I will say, it's not an immediate fix because we have to train people. Processing public records requests is complicated. It takes people time to learn the software. There's a lot of software they need to learn to use, and so while it is an important component, it's not the only thing we're focused on. We're also focused on process. We want to make sure that we are using the money that you are giving us for people in the best way possible. I want to squeeze every ounce of inefficiency out of our process. You know, I think the challenge is twofold. We're doing that amidst a huge incoming daily deluge of requests, and we're trying to balance also getting requests out the door. So we are really re-examining every aspect of our process and trying to reduce the number of requests that are uncollected on every given month, and also reduce our overall responsibility.
Thank you for all of that information. I'm really pleased to hear that staffing is, you're having success with staff. I understand that the folks that do have this job, it's a tough job anyway, just the information that you're going through. It's what first responders are seeing, and that's always difficult to do.
Council President, Council Grout, absolutely. I have immense respect for our law enforcement colleagues because you know, we see on a daily basis what they are seeing, and sometimes we have to watch it from multiple angles. So, for example, if there are 8 officers on scene, you know, for an ER video involving a fatal car crash, we will have to watch all of those officers videos, which can sometimes be watching the same significantly distressing incident multiple times.
Following up, you know, you all spend many hours processing these requests, and I know that there's a backlog. When I talked to council staff this week, they told me, I was told that since 2021, there are 25 Ipra requests from folks that have not been picked up, which equates to over 400 hours, and that's just in council services. So my ask to you is, how many Ipra's requests have you finished that have not been picked up since 2021?
Council President, Councilor Grout, thank you for this question. So the more I've delved into this, I realized it's basically all over the map. Some years it's been as high as almost 500 requests, and some years it's been significantly less, but it is a significant number of requests. And I did an initial review of, for example, how much staff time we were spending, and I looked at just 20 of them, because that was all I was able to accomplish. And on those 20 requests, we had spent almost 40 hours of time processing the records that were never collected. And that is a challenging issue, and we have been working to address it in the last several years because it's an ongoing issue. So several years ago, we started a process by which we would reach out to requesters every 90 days and ask them to confirm that they still want the records. Because what we were finding is that you know, the majority of our requesters are law firms, or a large portion of them, probably 30 to 40%. And their cases would settle and they wouldn't tell us, and so we would still be working on records they don't need. And then they would never pick them up. So we do generally try to contact requesters every 90 days now. And just confirming some of the records, but we are also looking at trying to make changes in how we request deposits, because we can request deposits for some records, and we're looking at maybe doing that request earlier in the process, because they may not, if they get a deposit request and aren't interested in paying that, then they may decide at that point they don't need records.
When was the last time that we looked at this ordinance that deals with?
So Ipra is governed both by some aspects of city ordinance and also state law. The city council did some revisions to the city's open records ordinance at the meeting in 2018 or 2019. I am interested in working with the council on further revisions to it, but state law does provide some constraints to what we are actually able to do.
Thank you. I appreciate all this information. I think it's frustrating when you all spend a lot of time and then it's not, the records aren't picked up. And I'm wondering if some of these things that we have to settle because you didn't get to them on time or whatever could have been avoided if you weren't spending time on things that weren't really important to somebody, you know, if they really weren't interested. I appreciate you very much. I think there's a follow-up question for you.
Councilor Sanchez.
Thank you, Mr. President. The question that I have is how much money did the city pay out this year, reference Ipra cases that didn't go anywhere, that didn't have, that actually hit their time limit or were under litigation?
I don't know if I know that number. I'm sorry, I don't know that number. Our council president, I don't actually know that number.
Nobody knows? How can you find that out?
I guess I'm council president, council Sanchez. I guess I'm unclear which specific set of cases we're looking for. Is it just the total of all settlements or the
total of all settlements that the city pays out in reference to Ipra requests that either don't get handled right or don't produce any information or they reach a time limit with the judge, those kinds of things. How much money is the city paid out?
Yeah. Council President, Council Sanchez, I can get that number for you. I just did not look it up for this meeting.
Okay. And if somebody can note that for next meeting so that we can ask that. Another question is, it would seem to me that municipalities with less public trust would have more scrutiny, such as Ipra. So I'm kind of concerned that that's the case here with us. So how do we make sure that the public is getting exactly what they ask for in reference to the Ipra request? And how do you make sure? I mean, this is a very subjective subject. If you ask me for an Ipra request, I could beat around the bush all day long and try to find a way out of it. So how do you make sure that the public gets what they're asking for?
Council President, Councilor Sanchez, we do, so I think that context is again important. I mean, we're getting 1,200 requests a month. Every member of our team is working on 100 to 150 requests at any given time. When a request comes in, we do generally work to confirm our understanding of what the requester is asking for. But to your point, you know, sometimes it is vague and sometimes it's confusing and sometimes, you know, lawyers draft long requests that seek a lot of things and it's a little hard to really understand what they're looking for. We do our best under the circumstances to try to understand what they're asking for, identify those records, capture them, redact them, and provide them. In recent years, we've also started including a phrase in our closure message that basically says to people, you know, if you believe there's still specific records outstanding, yes, please let us know. And sometimes people do let us know. It's kind of a mixed bag. Sometimes they don't. It's helpful when they do because if we misunderstood the request and can remedy that, that's great. But it is a challenging environment. I would say it's becoming more and more challenging as our requests have grown more commercial.
Thank you.
Councilor Payne.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a quick question. Have you talked to any of the other municipalities? Because I know that this is New Mexico Municipal League. It was a huge topic because a lot of the small cities and towns in the state of New Mexico are draining their budgets trying to adhere to all the numerous different requests. So,
Council President, Council Payne. So I do attend a lot of trainings and talks and meetings all about Ipra. Ipra is as I said earlier, we are not everyone's Ipra requests are on the rise. All public entities are receiving increasing amounts of Ipra litigation. It is a subject of much public concern among troublemakers.
Mr. President, if I can add to that. So I think they were talking about creating some kind of committee or work group to talk about how they can, meet the intent of the Ipra, but be able to not have to create for departments, right? So I think that's kind of what we're leading to here, is that we're not just create a department that just responds to Ipras all day, right? I mean, I think we have that within yours, but I'm just saying that it seems like it's just a huge struggle. And then all the information that's received, so it was kind of ironic because I just got interviewed by Larry Barker on the Ipra, but they were just saying that they really don't know what the expectation of some of the requests are, so they're sending them the information, but then they're getting additional Ipra requests for additional information because they didn't know necessarily what they were looking for.
Council President, Council Pena, I will agree that I think that is the trend both nationally and locally, is because public records laws have become increasingly specialized. The redactions are increasingly technical. There's a class of requesters who are increasingly focused on ensuring that public bodies are adhering to the required level of technicality. There are many public bodies that are creating specialized groups within their bodies to deal with public records requests, and that is what the city has done. So we have now basically 25 FTPs that process public records requests full time in my office, and it is that doesn't include the council services staff. And I do think there is discussion about working groups and potential changes. There are some that would make simple ones that might make differences, and other ones that make large differences. And I would look forward to getting those.
Councilor Graham.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Ethan. I appreciate all that information.